My dear students, welcome to the world of literature. Today we will listen to the story of Robinson Crusoe, written by Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe was born about 1660 in London to a poor but hard-working butcher, who was in addition a dissenter from the Church of England. Because his father was a dissenter, Daniel was unable to attend such traditional and prestigious schools as Oxford and Cambridge. Instead, he had to attend a dissenting academy where he studied science and humanities. In 1719, Defoe finished and published Robinson Crusoe, a long, imaginative literary masterpiece. It was popular with the public and has never lost its appeal to adventure and romance. Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is a young and impulsive wanderer, defied his parents and went to sea. He was involved in a series of violent storms at sea and was warned by the captain that he should not be a seafaring man. Ashamed to go home, Crusoe boarded another ship and returned from a successful trip to Africa. Taking off again, Crusoe met with bad luck and was taken prisoner in Sally. His captors sent Crusoe out to fish, and he used this to his advantage and escaped, along with a slave. He was rescued by a Portuguese ship and started a new adventure. He landed in Brazil, and after some time, he became the owner of a sugar plantation. Hoping to increase his wealth by buying slaves, he aligned himself with other planters and undertook a trip to Africa in order to bring back a ship of slaves. After surviving a storm, Crusoe and others were shipwrecked. He was thrown upon shore only to discover that he was the sole survivor of the wreck. Crusoe made immediate plans for the food and then shelter to protect himself from wild animals. He brought as many things as possible from the wrecked ship, things that would be useful later to him. In addition, he began to develop talents that he had never used in order to provide himself with necessities. Cut off from the company of men, he began to communicate with God, thus beginning the first part of his religious conversation. Gradually, Crusoe became a skilled craftsman, able to construct many useful things, and thus finished himself with diverse comforts. He also learned about farming. One of the first tasks he undertook was to build himself a canoe in case an escape became possible. But the canoe was too heavy to get to the water. He then constructed a small boat and journeyed around the island. Crusoe reflected on his earlier wicked life, disobeying his parents, and wondered if it might be related to his isolation on this island. After spending about 15 years on the island, Crusoe found a man's naked footprint. He considered many possibilities to account for the footprint and he began to take extra precautions against a possible intruder. Sometimes later, Crusoe was horrified to find human bones scattered about the shore. Evidently, the remains of a savage feast. He was plagued again with new fears. He explored the nature of cannibalism and debated his right to interfere with the customs of another race. Later, Crusoe saw a ship in distress, but everyone was already drowned on the ship and Crusoe remained companionless. However, he was able to take many provisions from this newly wrecked ship. Sometime later, cannibals landed on the island and a victim escaped. Crusoe saved his life, named him Friday, and taught him English. Friday soon became Crusoe's humble and devoted slave. Crusoe and Friday made plans to leave the island, and accordingly, they built another boat. Crusoe also undertook Friday's religious education, converting the savage into a Protestant. After long years of struggle in the island, Crusoe and his companions returned to England and found that in his absence he had become a wealthy man. After going to Lisbon to handle some of his affairs, Crusoe began an overland journey back to England. Crusoe and his company encountered many hardships in crossing the mountains, but they finally arrived safely in England. Crusoe sold his plantation in Brazil for a good price, married, and had 3 children. My dear students, the story of Robinson Crusoe ended here. You should go through further reading for more details about the story. Now we will learn one more adventure story, that is Treasure Island, written by Robert Louis Stevenson. Treasure Island, written by Robert Louis Stevenson. Robert Louis Stevenson wrote Treasure Island in 1881. It is set in the days of sailing ships and pirates and tells of the adventures of Jim Hawkins and his search for the buried treasure of an evil pirate, Captain Flint. The story begins at the Admiral Benbow, the inn that belongs to Jim Hawkins' parents. A mysterious stranger called Billy Bones, who rents a room at the inn, wants Jim to keep a lookout for a one-legged man. One day, Billy is visited by a beggar called Blind Pew, who gives him the black spot, which is the mark of imminent death among pirate crews. After Blind Pew leaves, Billy collapses and died. From Billy's belongings, Jim finds a map and some money. The map deals about a hidden treasure in an island. Jim and his friends set a journey to an island to get the treasure. Students, kindly continue the reading of the same book, Treasure Island, by Robert Louis Stevenson. For your further reading, kindly go through the other books of the same author, like The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, A Child's Garden of Verses, Kidnapped, and The Black Arrow. Enjoy your reading. Have a great day.